Today's podcast, my guest is Chris O'Connell. For those who don't know him, Chris is an NED, former recruiter, and we actually worked at the same company for a while, it would seem. He talks about how he was a global top biller through to setting up his own firm, exiting the firm, some pretty down times, and now his sort of rise to become a very well-mediated person, and how he's searching for purpose and applying his own purpose-led leadership philosophy to his customers. So really interesting one. We go quite a lot of places on it. Hope you enjoy. So welcome to the Required podcast. Today I've got a guest on that I've actually known for a number of years, but possibly could have known for even longer, but didn't. So it's Chris O'Connell. Chris runs Consultancy Based Mindset and also the Purpose-Led Leadership podcast. So welcome to the pod or the show. I don't know quite what to call it, Chris. You're probably more of an expert.
Well, no, thanks for that introduction. Absolutely honoured and thrilled to have you on your show, mate. Thank you so much.
Cool. So we actually have a similar background in recruitment. I think you started in 98, I started in 99, and we both worked for brands of the SThree group, or what became the SThree group.
Absolutely, yeah. Back in the day, God, it's a quarter of a century goes quickly these days, huh?
It really does. So you're at Computer Futures, and I was at Huxley, and we sort of knew about you guys, and you were the sort of the crack squad along with the progressive crew down in Wimbledon, and you're always portrayed to be mythical, brilliant sales figures. So we would aspire to be as good as you guys.
Oh, I'm not sure about that, but I was going to say something about that. But I did end up being the worldwide top bidder for that group. But I mean, Computer Futures was just this. I mean, if you cut me in half, I would bleed it. I just thought it was the holy grail for that business, and SThree as a business. I thought it was brilliant how they'd done it. Yeah,
no, and you would have been around the founders as well at the time, which was super powerful and very influential guys. For anyone who's met Bill or Simon, just fantastic how that all went through the organization. So loved it there, top biller, and then you went and set up on your own. What, 2003?
Yeah. So I started out quickly at SThree as a resource. I worked my way up there. I became the worldwide top biller. Loved that organization. Was there for 5 years. Set up my own business in 2003, taking a lot of their principles, but also adopting some new stuff. So it was project program management, change management across 5 or 6 industry sectors. Got it to £30 million or just under annual turnover. 100 staff, 3 offices, 70% contract, 30% perm, average fee of about 12 grand, average GP per week, 500 quid a week GP. Brilliant business, 14 industry awards, 3 Virgin Fast Track 100 awards in a row, loads of awards for our culture. I mean, where that business would be now is quite mind-boggling, because without blowing up our own trumpet too much, you don't get to that level by chance. And a lot of people have left that business like SThree and gone out and set up on their own. So it was a brilliant business, very proud of it. How did we do it? We wouldn't ask someone to do something we're not prepared to do ourselves. Myself and my business partner at the time, we understood what our strengths and weaknesses were. So I was contract, he was perm, and we kind of just played to our strengths a little bit. We hired some good people. Yeah, very, very proud of that business. And then kind of sold that through private equity in a very difficult transaction that didn't go to plan. I'm happy to elaborate on that as well. Which caused me actually some mental health problems, and I had some dark times for 4 or 5 years. And then I came back into the industry on LinkedIn and kind of blew up my personal brand. And now I'm a NED and coach. So I kind of I've learned a lot from my successes, but I've definitely learned more from my mistakes.
So weirdly, I first met you at a networking event. So it must have been 5, 6 years ago. And I remember you were just going through that whole experience. I think the transaction didn't go as well as you would have hoped, and I think it wasn't the dream deal that I guess all sides wanted. So that's when I first met you. So but as you say, that put you through some pretty tough times.
Yeah. So I mean, I was sort of 27, 28, millionaire. Business was going really well, absolutely flying, and then sort of got up to sort of 15 million, 20 million, 25 million. Every time I got there, it was kind of like, I just didn't have any horizons. I just wanted to go, 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 go. We got it to a point where just about to open up in different countries. And then my business partner walked in and said he didn't want to do it anymore. So that's fair enough. Just had his 3rd child. He wanted to kind of cash in his chips. So we did a quick exit with him. I actually had a great offer on the table, but then someone else came in. I did a deal with them, and the first year was really, really good. The second year, the culture was changed, and it kind of became a very difficult business to work in and run because of the relationship with the private equity people that we had. So I wanted to exit the business and didn't get the amount that certainly I should have got. And it was a big transition from me being, you know, a CEO, Southwest Entrepreneur of the Year, running a big business, to like kind of like watching daytime TV every day. And it did really affect me. It did affect my purpose. I didn't know what I wanted to do next. I felt a bit of shame. I felt a bit of disappointment. I felt a bit of anticlimax, and I was at a bit of a crossroads in my life. I was going through a divorce. I lost all my houses. I lost access to my children. I had some suicide attempts. The whole thing all culminated into one thing, and it was a very dark time. So what happened was I kind of came back on LinkedIn 3 or 4 years after that, and Andrew Silito, you probably know him. People know him. Great guy. I think he's SThree as well, actually. Yeah. Invited me on one of his webinars and asked me to do a subject of my choice. I chose vulnerability in leadership, and it went really well. And that was my pivot to go, actually, why don't I be open, be upfront, and talk about this, to talk about my successes, but talk about what happened. And it helped me build my personal brand. It helped me get engagement. It helped me pivot. And now, 3 years later, I'm a renowned and respected and well-referenced multiple NED, and I'm loving going into businesses and helping them now. So I think it's a combination of my successes, a combination of my story, a combination of being open and real and authentic, and just, you know, removing that mask. When I was running my big business, you know, I look back now, I was a bit of a dick, I've got to say, be open. You know, I had all the flash suits, the cars, and everything else, but I don't think I was necessarily in tune with my people enough. And I learned a lot from that. So I think these days, what worked back then, SThree, doesn't necessarily work now. That kind of dictatorial work to you fall over kind of style. I think the market's changed quite a lot.
Yeah, very much so. And I think even that as an organization, I mean, I stayed at SThree a lot longer than you, and the organization I joined in 99 was very different by the time I left in 20. And yeah, a lot of change had happened in that. And you know, I think what worked, as you say, what worked then didn't work going forward. So you've obviously worked with a number of different businesses, and actually all of the businesses I work with, you know, generally the founders have a similar view, right? We want to exit, you know, we want, what I often find is and then what would you do? So you talk about, you know, I've gone through all this, I've done this, and I found it leaving, you know, an organization I worked for 20 years, you know, that became what you do. It's where you went, it's who you drank with, you know, it's who you talked with, who you chatted with, who you gossiped with. And then all of a sudden, right, what am I doing with my time? And, you know, I'm having to take a long time off contractually. So what do I do? And it was really, really tough. And, you know, I think going back, that was a very low time for me as well. Then COVID came along, and it was a very lonely time for a number of people as well. So how do you sort of prepare, you know, owners, founders, you know, people for actually careful what you wish for sometimes?
Totally. I think that's a really good question. I think more often than not, when my clients get me in, they'll say, we've got this number of headcount, want to take it to this number, or we've got this profit or this revenue, want to take it to this number. And I say, well, why? Why do you want to do that? For me, it's about understanding the why. I know it's a bit Simon Sinek-y, but understanding what
very Simon Sinek-y, but
understanding what the purpose, mission, and values are. And actually, it's not, more often than not, it's not about money. It's about wanting to spend more time with their children, or actually creating something that's a tangible, impactful business. But I think that people get kind of this mystical number in the head and think, when I get to 25 million or when I get to 30 million, I can exit, and all of a sudden my life's going to be amazing. And having been there and done that, I say to them, actually, that's not always the case. It's whenever we start to say, when I get to here, I'm going to feel this. When I get to there, I'm going to feel that. There's a danger in that. So I do say, be careful what you wish for. I say, why don't we define the vision, mission, and values, and the plan and the strategy, and get you to that point? I guarantee more often than not, when you get there, it's not what you want it to be anyway. So what you're thinking now, and even in 6 months' time, might be different. So it's about giving yourself the options. And more often than not, we get them to that point and actually, I want to stay on, or I want to do a part exit, or I want to keep my hand in. And actually they change and evolve. Who knows how you're going to feel in 3 years anyway?
Yeah.
So it's about being curious, being open-minded, but also understanding you have to enjoy that journey along the way as well. And you can have a number in your head and in your mind, but the chances of you actually definitely reaching that number aren't always good. So it's just really about what do they want out of their life. And where I went wrong was I spent 99.9% of my time focused on the business. I lost girlfriends. I lost contact with my children because I thought by getting to 25, 30, 40 million and doing this thing, I would then automatically become happy. And it's about not work-life balance, but it's about harmony. And your business isn't the be-all and end-all. But I think the problem is that we think it is, and it's not.
So effectively what you're describing is you had to start again.
Yeah.
And it's from a pretty dark place. So how do you get that motivation to what was your purpose? So coming back to where it sounds like you're in a great place now. As I say, LinkedIn recruitment hero. In Cherry's words, not yours. I but
yeah.
But yeah, I mean, what was your purpose coming back?
Well, I think my purpose when I was doing the SThree thing and my own business thing wasn't clear and wasn't right. I think I was doing it to prove other people wrong or my parents wrong. Kind of like now, my purpose is evolving and changing. But this is going to sound a bit woo woo, and this is people are going to think about it's a bit too. I'm quite a spiritual person. I hadn't been up until recently, but for me, it's about how I feel about myself. So what I mean by that is I've started to love myself over the last 2 or 3 years a bit more in terms of that self-esteem. When I start doing that, I feel like I can then actually execute what I've been born to do. I think that everyone on this planet is given gifts and given an opportunity to be their best form of themselves. So for me, it's about passing on my skills, my experience, my knowledge, my wisdom onto others, making a tangible difference, being true to my values and my purpose of that. But also then the money comes along at the same time. Whereas before I thought money was the purpose to the happiness. Whereas I think it's purpose before profit for me. And I think you can have both. So my purpose is to fulfill my potential, be the best version of myself. I now, it's only been the last couple of years I actually truly believe I'm really good at what I do. Even though I built that massive business, I've done all the stuff, I've never believed I never kind of thought it was a good achievement. It moves and shakes, but it's not based on a material thing or a number or the size of my house, my watch, my car, my business. It's about what impacts I can make on others. And people think, yeah, whatever. But for me, that's what it is.
What you're describing there, I mean, I've heard it described as imposter syndrome.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's sometimes you're in that situation, you're thinking, yeah, and you really do struggle with it. I mean, I had similar, when you leave a big organization, it's a similar thing, is it the organization or is it me? And generally you have those sort of doubts around it, and I think you definitely just have to work through it and then just realize your own value. And it might not be the same value you had at that organization, but I remember I don't know if you know Tim Cook, but I remember when I was looking to see what I was going to do post SThree, I remember phoning up and asking him, and he said, look, Andy, you're massively overpaid there, but you have got value. You just need to find out who, where your value is. And thanks, Tim. That was the real pat on the back I was looking for. But I think many a true word said, and I think you do search out where you can add value to organisations, where you can add people, organisations to people, but also the community as well. And it's what you give out. Now, you've alluded to the fact you are massive on LinkedIn. I look at one of your posts, you get 500 odd comments, 1,000 reactions, and so you're actually, I think, when Amelia Sordell set up Clout, I think you're her first customer.
Absolutely, yeah, very much. I mean, she's a great, almost like my coach in a way in terms of that. She's given me that confidence, but her skill set and her branding and her team have really enabled me to accelerate my personal brand, definitely.
And what's been the benefit of doing that?
Well, I think that coming from an SThree background where cold calling was how we did it, I always used to think that the best way to win business was to knock on people's doors. But that's completely changed. So I get 5, 10, 15 hard business inquiries a week now. And when I phone them up, I don't even have to tell them what I do because they already know. So I get inbound business. So the benefit of doing it is that I'm now a known quantity. People know all about me. They know what I can deliver, and I'm authority in the space. I make mistakes sometimes online. I'm not perfect, but people know me, right? And if I think I'm front of mind as much as I can be. So if a recruitment business wants an NED, I'm pretty confident that most of them will know who I am and what I can do. So it's the power of that, the power of, like, when I put a post out, as you say, I put a post out about the crying CEO yesterday, and it's gone wild. 300,000 views already. It's only been on for a day. There's 500 comments. But as an example, that's like me holding a board meeting or a seminar to thousands of people at once. I'm commenting in there.
Yeah.
So I'm showcasing my ability to hold a conversation. I can do videos on there. I just can't think of a better way to, not just to win business, but to build an authority in your personal brand. So I can't speak highly enough of it. It takes time, and it hasn't been an easy journey, but it's worth it.
Yeah, I mean, it's similar with Dalter and Charlotte. I got to know them pretty much when, just pre-COVID, and then got to know them a lot more. But I felt like I actually knew them because I'd listened to the podcast, and when I was talking to other firms, I'd go and do the research by listening to the podcasts of those firms' founders. Yeah, and it literally was like when I first had that Zoom call or that first call, I felt like I actually knew them because I'd seen their journey, I'd seen them go to the States, I'd seen them,
exactly,
with the kids. So, used to joke that I was a digital babysitter for the kids, during COVID because we're on Zoom. So actually, I ended up starting a business with two people I'd never met, which was just crazy times. But that's really the power of LinkedIn and their profile. And I think, actually, you're absolutely right. I came from an environment where we were pretty much head down. We kept ourselves to ourselves. We weren't as out there, and it was about the corporate brand, not the personal brand. So, yeah, I mean, I've certainly learned so much off the dirties. I learn a lot watching Amelia.
Yeah.
I guess for me as well, it's just taking that. You say it takes a long time. I guess it's just taking that first step and being consistent.
It is, and I think a lot of people fear that, but people, and there's a lot of stuff banding around, but people do buy from people, and personal brands have opened up huge accounts as well. So I think it is be about being consistent, and actually, people don't want the vanilla corporate stuff anymore. Like SThree is great, but actually, I think I'm a good example of people just trust me because, I mean, I have been quite vulnerable as well, and probably an overused word, but I think you have to be yourself because people can see right through that as well. And when you are yourself, you attract the people that you want to attract anyway.
So I don't know the chap's name, but the crying CEO. If he were your client and he said, "Chris, I'm thinking about posting this," what would you have advised him?
I'd ask him why. What's the motivation and intention behind it? And I would always say, look, it's clear that your passion and your emotion is quite high at the moment. Let's talk about this and discuss it, and just kind of like understand his intentions and motivations, but also prepare him for the backlash that you might have. But also, I think that with social media, you could be the Dalai Lama, you could be Mother Teresa, you could do the most kindest acts in the world. Someone will always find fault. As an example, I put a post out about a month ago of a before and after of me, and one of those side-by-side pictures. One was while I'm going through divorce at disheveled. The other picture was me looking really good. 21 million views, 400,000 likes and comments, loads of positivity, and about 5% absolute disgusting bullying, trolling of me for no reason at all. And this guy's had in the reverse. And so the advice I would say is that always check with someone else, but if your intention is good and pure, I think post it out. He could have mentioned more about the employees. He could have done this, he could have done that, he should have, would have, could have. But I personally believe that his intentions were good. What happened was he was clouded by his emotion. He executed his message very poorly, and it came across in exactly the opposite way he wanted. So he should have slowed down a little bit, sought some advice. And I think that's where CEOs can be quite exposed because, or the ego gets in the way. They feel as if they shouldn't seek counsel. I think a good CEO should have a mentor, should have a guide, should have an NED or a coach. Everyone, I've got my own coaches as well. So I think it's taking counsel before you do such a thing, particularly if you haven't done it before.
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, it was one of those things. You're either going to think, yeah, I get that, and you can relate. You're going to think, no, that's a bit much, But what really I think I took from that whole, both the post, then the revisionist, views, was that everyone just piles on, and there's very much a herd mentality. It's almost like people before they post almost look to see what everyone else is posting, because is this okay to double down on that? And that sort of pack mentality is quite is quite frightening actually at times.
Yeah, I mean, with the amount of posting that I do and exposure that I do, I get that a lot. And it's only up until recently, actually, even quite a few years into this, that it started to not affect me. And I'm talking only about 2 or 3 months. I used to get very offended. It's one of those things, like, I think human beings, we tend to focus on the negative. If there's 99% positive, we'll leave that alone and think, well, that one person, that 500,000 has had a go at me, and you focus on that. But I think there is a tendency that it's easy to jump on a bandwagon and attack someone, but more often than not, it's fear. And I think COVID, and I think what I'm picking up on social media is a lot of people that are angry, depressed, suppressed, and it's a defense mechanism to attack someone when they're down. But actually, the reality is, he was brave enough to post it in the first place. A lot of the people that attacked him haven't even been a CEO, haven't even been in that position. So I think there's an argument there, but I think the post could have been better executed, but what's outweighed that is the virality of the viciousness. I think that's worse than the post itself. That's the issue.
Who's really good on LinkedIn? Who, if people, obviously, people want to look at yourself, how you've done it. Who else do you really rate and respect for what they've done?
Well, I think obviously Amelia Sordell on the personal branding side of things. I think Andy Morell is a good guy in recruitment. He's done really well. It's a guy called Andy Mack on LinkedIn. He's really good. Who else on LinkedIn? There's quite a few. Leah Turner is really good on LinkedIn as well. I think there's some good podcasts. I mean, I've got my own podcast on there, but Sean Anderson's got a good podcast on there. I love the Vincere brand. I think they're doing well, but I think it's generally the people that are themselves, and they put themselves out there. There's a girl called Francesca who's just she runs an accountants firm, and her videos are really, really good. A guy called Joe Laugi. He does lots of these memes, and he gets lots of stuff on there. So I think there's lots of good stuff going on, but at the moment there's also a lot of, there's like a lot of, it's gone a bit selfie. I think LinkedIn's got quite selfie-ish at the moment in terms of the photos, and I think that's a different concept. But at the moment, for some reason, there's a lot of negativity, a lot of people sort of blaming each other and attacking people, which is an interesting thing as well. But you got to look through that, I think.
I think what was interesting for me is I thought, if I'm out of the office, do I need to post it? Because that seemed to be the common one for the last few weeks. Everyone, I'm out of the office, so I'm just letting you all know I'm out.
Oh yeah. Just let you know, I'm going to take some time off LinkedIn today or this week, but then I'm still going to respond to the comments about that. Oh, okay.
Yeah. So I think, and it feels almost, and there is a lot of talk around, oh, this isn't Facebook. I actually think, and I welcome your view on it. I think actually it feels a bit like it might go that way, but it's basically adults, business Facebook.
Yeah, it's going. It is going that way a little bit, but I think it's a good thing though. I think business has changed. I think the whole work from home, work from anywhere. No longer can a business kind of be that dictatorial kind of like come in at 9, finish at 6. This is our business. I think the personality, the human side, but I think there's also a limit, right? I think every post that you're posting is a selfie. I mean, I'm not going to dig anyone out. It's up to them. I'm not going to tell them what to do. I think as long as you're adding value, I'd say,
Yeah.
as long as you're giving some insight and you're giving some takeaways, then post yourself and do what you want. But if you're just doing and there's no meaning behind it, then it's not for me.
Yeah, no, 100% get that. So in terms of businesses that, how are you seeing the market at the moment? So obviously, I don't think I've seen a better market in recruitment the first half of this year.
Yeah.
How are your customers finding the second half?
I think it's great. I think the early part of the year it was bonkers, wasn't it? Some clients and my other and other businesses were paying like 10, 15, 20 grand more, I think, than what they should for a standard recruitment consultant, which I think was going to bite them on the bum. So I think it has been good, but I think, God, give it another 3-6 months. I think there is a storm brewing. I think we can't hide from that. On one hand, though, I think we both worked through a couple of recessions. It's how you deal with it, how you ramp it up. So I think there's still a couple of months left before we start to see any sort of changes. But my experience is that in most recessions, there can be an opportunity. Look at building out your contract desk and sort of mitigate it before it happens. Don't put your head in the sand. But now is the time to capitalize. If anything, I would be pressing the button more on my processes and getting some good quality people in now to survive it, not pulling back. So I think the market is still good. In some markets like energy, I think the recession is going to help because there's going to be more demand for it. So I think it depends what market you're in, right? So I think the next 2 years is going to be difficult for some, but great for others.
I think what's interesting for me is that there was a whole generation of recruiters that didn't get hired during COVID. So the whole sort of, there was almost like that year's graduates, never came into the industry and never had the benefit of going through the training and getting that. But also as well, I think the next intake, probably haven't needed to biz dev like.
Yeah, sure.
They will need to in the next
Good
year
point.
or two. So actually, I think there's some excellent people. I think just the skills mix has just got to change in the sort of coming year as well. I think people have been able to not do the biz dev, not had to build their own personal brands out to clients and be very candidate focused. So I think the challenges are exactly the same. And actually, I don't think good businesses have anything to fear. I actually think it's going to be quite interesting because I think good businesses will, do as well as they were doing. I think it's the businesses that are being floated on a good market that haven't got those processes, probably haven't got those principles as well. That, will be really found out.
You're spot on. I mean, a lot of my customers or clients, they're doing really well. They've got lots of key accounts, lots of sort of warm stuff in. But I say to them, it doesn't matter if each consultant's got 1,000 jobs on. No matter what, we have to weave in a business development mindset, process, and framework that every week or whatever it is, they are looking at cultivating that. Because otherwise, I call it kind of they're feeding from the teat. They're giving the stuff, and it's great and it's all good. But when the recession comes, even if there's not a recession, it is good for their development, the business development as well. But even your own existing clients, it's about also maximizing what you've got there as well. I think we leave that alone. So it's a two-pronged attack around business development of your existing clients, but also, you have to have that mentality of going out to win more stuff. Because what you'll find is that your existing businesses clients might be cutting back as well. You can't just rely on them.
Yeah, and you're spot on about what a good time to build a contracts desk. I mean, I put out a post and it was best time to start contracts. Division was 20 years ago. The next best time is now. It's the Chinese proverb about planting the tree. But yeah, it's one of those things that you do need to see it as an investment. A bit like building a personal brand. It's going to take you years. And the trouble I find is that there's never a good time to start because perm's going really well. Right, we'll focus on that. Or perm's not going well. So, all right, we need to fix perm, then we'll start contract. And I think you're absolutely spot on contract. And the other thing I would say, to any firm right now is, can you develop what you do internationally? So if you can do it well in the UK, then international markets in the US, Germany, are underserviced by, and the opportunity is massive if you can, again, but to do that,
absolutely,
you need to be solid at home.
Totally. This is where COVID can, and things like recessions and work from anywhere, work from home can be an opportunity because what's happened with work from anywhere, work from home, firms are now more open to taking people on in different countries. That you don't have to be located in the same country. So therefore, there's an opportunity to actually deliver better candidates and give the client more options and more of a choice as well.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I think what will be interesting is that I think you're going to see. I actually think it's just a great reordering. You're going to have people who want to work from office go and join firms with an office. You know, people who don't work remote, and those who want to. I think hybrid will be able to hybrid. And I don't think there'll be. I don't think we've seen any great resignation, but I think we'll see a great, sort of restructuring of just people landing where they want to. And at the moment, the talent can choose. That's that's the big thing at the moment. But whether or not that continues.
Well, that's very true. Just on that point, I think when we were doing it, it was very much the business was kind of dictating, but I think it's a bit of a client-led market now, isn't there? Where you have to sell to the candidate as much as them selling to you.
Yeah, 100%. And I don't, with the skill shortage, certainly in the STEM industries, I don't see that changing anytime soon.
I agree.
So, what's your plan for the next year then? So, if we're having this conversation in a year's time, what will success have looked like for you?
Well, I think income is great at the moment. It's good. I think the quality of my clients is good. I'm loving my personal brand. I think what my plans are, I'm doing a YouTube channel, starting that next month to leverage my podcast a bit more. My podcast is going well. So it's to build out my personal brand even more. To the brands that I'm working with, the clients that I'm working with is to have an equity stake in some of them, because I want to take them on that full journey of exit. So that's to leverage my own portfolio. So as you know, it can take 3-5 years to do that. So, and get a few of those over the line as well. So actually, I've got a few of my clients where we're at that sort of sales cycle. So that's exciting. So it's getting my clients to the next stage, building up my personal brand, making sure I'm spending some quality time with my children, my family. Just keeping it real, man. Being myself. That's important too.
Fantastic. Well, let's check in a year's time and see how many deals you've done, see how much time you've actually taken off, and go from there. So, Chris, thanks so much for the time. It's great as always, and I've really enjoyed our sort of chats over the last couple of years, and actually just getting to know you, and actually, the opportunity to get to know you, probably wouldn't have happened had we not have had a global pandemic and everyone was sat there working. So, if people want to get hold of you and they've managed to avoid you online so far, how can they contact you?
Yeah, well, firstly, thank you as well, mate, for this. And also, it's been a pleasure to speak to you and get to know you. And I'd admire all the stuff you're doing and keep that going. So definitely LinkedIn is probably the best place, but also Instagram. I'm doing that, and some Facebook, but also YouTube. But the best place is probably LinkedIn.
Okay. Well, if they can't find you on there, then they need to be better recruiters. Right. So thanks again, Chris, and catch up soon.
Lovely, mate. Thanks so much.